Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? All right. Thank you so much for confirming. Welcome. I see some are still joining, and we'll kick off maybe at 18:05 in just 1 minute's time. So just to confirm, maybe at this time we can just do a little bit of admin. Are you able to open your mic? Just so that if you have any questions, you can do so. And if not, then.
Yes, we do.
All right,
Yes.
great. Thank you so much. Yeah, let's give it 1 more minute, then we'll kick off. All right, I think we are ready to kick off. My camera seems. All right, ready to kick off. You can see my presentation, right? All right, great. Good evening once again to everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this evening for our official open day or launch of the CIMA program. So very excited to have you here and very excited to be launching this exciting program with you. So essentially, the agenda for today, it's always quite simple. The idea is to officially get to introduce the program to you and talk about what really it's all about and how we have then structured ourselves in order to effectively support you in your journey, and more importantly, give you an opportunity to ask any clarifying questions that you might have regarding this program. So being a new program, we then expected that, yes, obviously there might be a number of questions just to understand the structure, just to understand for some, it might be just quite a new avenue journey that one wants to look into. So we'll then spend time in terms of really what is it all about. And for some, I see some familiar names, welcome as well. Familiar in terms of some of you were in our APC program, and I know that you were just celebrating a few days ago your success in the APC assessment. And I know, and I see some familiar names from some of you that were with us in some of our other programs, CTA and ITC. So everyone, you're most welcome. And I think, as I was saying, that one of the objectives is to just say that, yeah, maybe you've gone through the CA journey and you want to study further and you just want to understand what is it all about. So we'll then start from that very beginning. And I know some might be saying that's okay, if I'm to choose, what do the different profession looks like? So it's not really going to be a matter of comparing the CIMA qualification with any other qualification, but it's just going to be a matter of understanding what then the qualification on its own offers and why is it something that is exciting, especially in this day and age. So that is then the plan. And if I just quickly show my agenda for tonight. So first of all is just welcoming you and just introducing Namo to you. Then also just to clarify the different audience that are there, because I think when some of the questions come in, it's always quite important to understand that, yeah, different people on this particular journey start the profession at different points. So it is always quite important to just understand who might be in this particular session and why some of the level of detail might need to be dealt with. Then we're going to talk about the CIMA qualification in itself. Then we're going to talk about our program, then the tuition fees, as well as just some few administrative questions that you might then have. So as I was saying, very short and sweet. In terms of just a quick introduction, my name is Rendani. I am one of the senior management team in the organization, but more importantly, the way that you will be dealing with me is that I will be your CIMA academic head. What that means, it means that I'm the one who will be looking after you from a technical perspective, ensuring that the program and the people that we put before you are competent. The material is designed to be effective and to be of the highest quality in order for you to complete this journey as successfully as possible. So it's a very interesting qualification journey, and I'm sure when we go and unpack it some more, you will see what I mean in that particular regard. When it comes to question, just before we jump in, you are more than welcome to use the platforms that are available. You can either use the chat, you can use your mic, you can raise your hand and then just ask a question. That is most welcome. I've got my team of caretakers here that will then also be assisting with handling some of the questions on the chat platform, and any other ones I'll also just handle here. So there's no need for us to wait until the end of the session in order to ask the questions. Okay. So for those that are joining us for the very first time, so who is Endunam? So Endunam, we are essentially a private tuition provider. We specialize in professional accounting courses, specifically CA, SA, as well as the CIMA profession. We have also candidates that are based outside South Africa that we also support, the CAs in Zim, as well as the CA in Namibia, and others that are based all over the world, but focusing on either Zim, Namibia, and South Africa. So the CIMA qualification, it's a new qualification for us. Very excited to be here, and also just to talk about its relevance in this particular stage in terms of the opportunities that are available to have both designation CA as well as CIMA. That's one of the reasons that we are here today. And in terms of then how we are structured, we've got three brands that we use in order to deliver our services. We've got the Institute brand, the board course, as well as the APC professional course. So in terms of where we will then be engaging with, and in terms of the kind of branding that you will be seeing, you'll be seeing that of the Endunamo Institute. And this is then the brand that serves the candidates that are in our CTA support course and also that are in our CIMA program, like yourselves. Additionally, the programs that we have here, especially from a technical perspective, for those that have pursued the CA qualification, they will know that once you have completed your academic qualification, being your undergraduate and your CTA, there's nothing new from a technical perspective that you are taught. In other words, when you go write your board exams, you then use the technical content that you will have covered in CTA. So accordingly, majority of the technical content that we have there, we then use it to benefit candidates that are in our ITC program, which is the first board exam for the CA qualification, and the second board exam, which is the APC. So that's why, in terms of the focus under the institute, we've got ITC and APC candidates. Then we've got the board course, which is then the brand that supports candidates that are sitting for their first CA board exam. And we've got secondly, or thirdly rather, the APC program, which is the EPC brand. And then that's a CIMA accredited provider for the final board exam. So this is who we are, and these are the programs that we provide. So if you are joining us for the very first time, we are really excited to have you here, and I'm trusting that you're gonna have a very good time with us. Then, in terms of just clarifying then the offerings, it will be our CTA support, CIMA offering. We also have a CIMA to CA offering, which is different from this particular program. And before we close the session, I'm just going to explain what that is all about. So it's secondary to our agenda. Our agenda tonight is the CIMA program. Then there's the ITC, APC, and what we also call the EPC case study package. So in a nutshell, that's who we are. We've been around for the past 10 years, started delivering classes all the way from 2014, started out as UNISA CTA support courses, and then evolved to what we are today. So the journey has been exciting. We've engaged with some smart, excellent, determined, very committed candidates, and some of them are now highly successful professionals. So we are hoping to replicate the success in our CIMA program and really get to empower and get to open up opportunity that this amazing qualification actually offers. So that is who we are, the starting point. Then now, the audience that I believe might be around, so that we just make sure that the message and also some of the things we're going to talk about have considered this kind of the different entry points into the CIMA qualification. And some of which you'll then get to understand why it's important to just understand who you are in the journey, and therefore what is the implication if you are keen on pursuing the CIMA qualification. So the CIMA qualification is essentially open to everyone from all the way from matric. So in other words, with a matric qualification, you can then onboard the CIMA journey. From just the opportunities, or from an opportunities perspective, we are seeing that in terms of jumping from one professional qualification body to the other, it's always easier if you have some kind of an undergraduate degree. But in terms of opportunity, that's also there. And I'll just explain in terms of the different entry points later on. Then, from my understanding, is that what we then, or who we then have here, are accounting candidates. This will then be someone who is either working through their undergraduate degree, have completed their undergraduate degree, have completed their postgraduate diploma, like a CTA. So that's number one. Then number 2, it could be trainee accountants, mostly so CICA trainee accountants, the ones that are still in their journey, whether they've got the postgraduate CTA, ITC, APC or not. Then we have associate general accountants, which is the AGA qualification that also is administered by CICA. And these are generally candidates that have completed their articles, but have not completed the examination leg of the CICA qualification journey. Then we've got CIMA students, being anyone that could have started the journey, whether they're at a certificate level or they're at an operational level, managerial level or management level, or strategic level. So this is someone that is still in the pipeline working through that. Then it could be that we also have other professional members from other professional bodies, the most prominent one being CA, CICAS 1 or ICAS, and also ACCA, SIGA, as well as SALGA. And I understand that there could be more like CIPA that might also be thinking about what? About joining and pursuing this qualification. So as we talk, then there will be some specific elements that affect the different people here. And if you want to just understand if something that we're going to talk about affects you or not, please don't hesitate to raise your hand or drop a chat to just clarify. It's always important so that when you go and deal with the so much information that is out there, you at least have some standard or starting point that can make it easier to absorb everything that's there. Okay. Then before I talk about the qualification journey itself, what is happening to my slide? It's not, let me just see. Just trying to make sure. So as it set up, so one of the things that I just want to talk to before we even get to say how the qualification looks like, it will be a starting point to say that what is really CIMA all about? So as you will know, stands for Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. So here we are referring to a management accountant. So then the question might be, what is the difference between a financial accountant and a management accountant? So a management accountant essentially, if you have done any management accounting qualification, probably you will have used Drury sometime in your life. And you then realize that Drury will then tell us that management accounting is all about providing information to management to do what? To make decisions, to make more efficient and effective decisions. And this information can be used for costing products, for making decisions, as well as for evaluating performance. So if you have ever attended any management accounting class, that will have been the first thing you were told about, that management accounting is focused on decision making. And that's fundamentally what makes it different from financial accounting. So the biggest underlying aspect is that what you are focused in providing and analyzing information so that the people that are making the decision can make more efficient decisions. So if one asks you, what are we doing here? Why do you want this? It's all about that. And how so if one is to just compare and contrast financial accounting as we know it and the management accounting? So in financial accounting, yes, we do deal with information that is primarily used by investors to make what? Investment decision, like preparing of financial statements in according to IFRS. But if you think about it, there, as much as professional judgment might be required, the focus is in dealing with what has happened. In other words, the financial statements need to capture the reality of the organization as it is. But when we are thinking about management accounting, we don't necessarily have frameworks like IFRS, but we rather have principles and frameworks that helps us to then compile the set of information and analyze the set of information in order to make decisions that could impact the organization going forward. So it could be, if you're thinking about it, you're thinking about things like um, um, putting together information for a special order, putting together information for an investment proposal, NPV analysis, putting together information for valuations. So as you can see that as much as you might be interacting with financial information that are prepared by financial accountants, your use of that information, it's more forward-looking in terms of what? In terms of making decisions that could impact the organization. But it does not mean that one, as a professional financial accountant or professional management accounting, the professional competencies you bring are not fundamentally different. So you are still expected to be a critical thinker. You are still expected to act ethically when faced with decision. You are still expected to embrace the concept of integrated thinking and think broadly about the impact of your decision on various stakeholders. You are still expected to understand business and therefore bring your business acumen. And lastly, you are still expected to communicate effectively the information that is before you for those that are going to use it to make decisions. So from a professional competence perspective, there are no fundamental differences between the two. But what is fundamental, it's how you use the information or where the information is coming from. And as one could then start thinking about here, it could be what? It could be that maybe you're thinking of, and you're saying that, yes, I can prepare the books, I can comply very well with SARS, but maybe I need a set of skills that can help me to navigate the different aspects of my business, the people aspect, the supplier aspect, the government aspect, the regulation aspect, and just how to build this business and make it scalable and so on. That's where then the two or even management accounting can really come quite handy because of that forward-looking perspective. So if you have done a qualification like, say, CTA or qualified as a CA, then you will have then understood that all those things are packaged into what? Into your qualification. But right now is just to expose yourself to some of the things that we probably just scratched its level. That it's just more exciting how to go about developing strategy, how to go about managing change, how to go about evaluating businesses, mergers and acquisition. So there is a lot more that one can get as a management accountant. Okay, so that is just number one, so that you can really and clearly see what you might be getting yourself to and why it might be valuable. And once we unpack the syllabus, you'll then get to see even more why it is that exciting. So what are the key elements of the CIMA qualification? So on my right, on my left here, it is this diagram that I've extracted from the CIMA qualification document. So this diagram it's very popular whenever you want to just understand the CIMA qualification is the diagram that you will then find. So how does one look at it? How does one really unpack to understand it? One has to understand what we mean when we talk about pillars, what we mean when we talk about levels, and what type of assessment that one will be exposed to. What recognition will you then have as you complete different stages of the qualification? And what do you need, excuse me, before you can qualify as a CIMA member? So that is what we are then what we are going to be talking about. So firstly, as you will see, there are, if we look at the purple colored levels there, we start off at what we call a certificate level. Then there's the operational level, management level, and strategic level. So there are 4 levels that one has to complete in order to qualify as a CIMA professional. And in terms of how one thinks about it, which you can then understand from what? From the discussion about the entry level, the entry points, as well as the exemptions that CIMA offers. So at a certificate level, think about it as your undergraduate qualification. So think about the certificate as an undergraduate degree. Because as I was saying, that the earliest you can start your CIMA journey is immediately after matric. So if you're coming from matric, you might then say, I don't have an undergraduate degree, and I then want to start this journey. So because you don't have an equivalent of an undergraduate degree, it means that you will need to complete a certificate level. So you will then complete the certificate level that is given there. So it's got BA1, BA2, BA3, and BA4. And this is where we really get to see the foundation of management accounting and financial accounting that we covered probably in our first, second year, third year, depending on your qualification. And if you then are starting at that particular level, what it therefore means, it means what? It means that once you complete it, there will be a recognition of your completion. So here there are part qualification, if one may call it them that. Because sometimes with other qualification, you complete ITC and we just say you completed ITC. But here, once you complete a particular level, you then get awarded a part qualification. So as you can imagine, most might be sitting here with a degree or rather an advanced diploma or a BTech. So you are most likely having an equivalent of what? Of the certificate level. Once you are then done, you then journey into what we call the CIMA professional qualification. So the certificate is part of the qualification journey, but from operational, they refer to it as a CIMA professional qualification. In some instances, you might see them saying CIMA PQ. That's what it refers to. So CIMA professional qualification. So the CIMA professional qualification has got 3 pillars. It's got what we call the enterprise pillar, and it's got the financial pillar, and it's got the performance pillar. So think about this as modules, like accounting modules, management accounting, auditing, and tax. So these are like modules. And with modules, then there will be different levels in them, like accounting 1A, accounting 1B, accounting 1C. So when we talk about then the levels, we are talking about exactly that, the different level at which a course can be pitched at. And there are three levels: operational, management, and strategic level. So it means that under one pillar, which is the enterprise pillar, for instance, then you will have to have operational enterprise, management enterprise, strategic enterprise. Accounting S equals to enterprise, then accounting 1, accounting 2, accounting 3. So that's how you think about them. So what do you then cover at different pillars? So enterprise focuses on running and growing the organization. So there you will then understand operational management as well as strategic management. So that is the enterprise pillar. And if you have done, say, the CA qualification, we simply just used to call that strategy. So that's where we will then be dealing with strategy right there. But it's going to be much broader, because here, as I was saying, you will then be talking about change management, culture issues, how to evolve and organize it, different aspects, marketing strategies. That's what we will then be focusing on under the enterprise pillar. And then we have the financial pillar, which you'll then find for most is the most common, especially if you've got a BCom degree. So then we are now talking about aspects relating to financial management and financial accounting. Yes, we have financial accounting. So as I said, as a management accounting, you'll be looking forward, but you cannot look forward unless you have a starting point. Your starting point will most of the time be the published annual reports. So you cannot be a management accounting who I'll then drop an annual report and you cannot read it. So you are then exposed to financial reporting. So you will do things like revenue, things like leases, things like financial instruments, and consolidation and foreign operation. However, the level of detail that you will then go into, it will not be as extensive as we are saying that you're going to have to also carry those trolleys for IFRS and so on. So here it is just to say, as a management accounting, you will likely use financial reporting information. So if I give you information, I say this is revenue, then you need to know that revenue is recognized using IFRS 15. IFRS 15 has got 5-step model, and one of them is identify performance obligation. So you will then understand and be able to make sense of those things, such that when you review the disclosure, you can be able to say that this organization is gold because it is sitting with X and so on. And if we invest, we'll then be able to generate value of so much. And in financial pillar as well, we talk about financial strategies. And financial strategy, this is financial management. So we are going to talk about source of financing, valuation, cost of capital, and working capital issues. So those are the things that we'll then deal with under the financial pillar. Then we've got performance and stroke risk. What pillar? So here we are understanding that in our pursuit of running and growing our organization and looking to sort out our financial, there could be things that could stop us on our way. So we need to then understand the concept of risk and how it can affect our enterprise strategy as well as financial strategy. So there we then deal with management accounting. So management accounting as we know it, the costing element, will then be sitting under them. And also risk. And by extension, when we talk about risk and think about it from internal organization, we generally talk about enterprise risk management. Where now we are thinking about the internal audit function, we are thinking about internal controls, and we are thinking about risk registers. So that's what the performance pillar is all about. So those are the three pillars of the CIMA qualifications. And as you can see, the integration of what? Of the different aspects of a business. Business has to have good ideas to grow, strategies. They have to be financed, but things can go wrong. Are all those things being well coordinated in order to ensure the success of the organization? So that is the question that one will be able to answer when you look at the syllabus from these three pillars. Then next, it is what? The levels. What can one expect from the different levels? Operational, management, and strategic. So to think about it best, things start at a strategic level, that we need to have a big picture of where we are going, what we are trying to do. Then afterwards, we can then say, take this to the management team and let be implemented. So at a strategic level, we are focused on the big picture, things like governance, strategy, alliances, joint ventures, and so on, things that are critical for a company's success. Some define it so well to say things at a strategic level, you cannot make them today and tomorrow you simply reverse it. Strategy by nature has the long-term entanglement in it. The moment you say something is strategic, it means that once you involve yourself, it's very difficult to undo. It's either going to be an expensive exercise or you will have to wait it out in order to see its fruits. So that's strategic. Then we take it down to management. Management then say, we know where we are going in the next 5 years. Now, where are we going in the next 1 year, 2 years, and so on? So they convert those long-term strategies into medium-term strategies. Then next, it's operational level. At an operational level, you are saying we understand the mandate for the next 12 months, but what are we doing today, this week, next week, next month? So they are now converted those strategies into short-term, day-to-day operational activities. Things like, therefore, capacity, if it's given, we are now thinking about how to organize our production run to get the best out of this machine that we've just invested for the next 5 years. So that is the idea behind the levels. Then the next thing that one needs to just then understand about the qualification is that there are assessments. So when we talk about assessments, the assessments are very interesting. We've got two types of assessment in the professional qualification: the objective tests and the case study exams. So the objective tests are written, and maybe just to make sure we are seeing this picture clearly. So you will then see, if we go back to the picture, that we have the operational level after the certificate level. Then it's the management level and it's the strategic level. So now this is where the assessments come in, because you could be sitting here and say that, sure, I want to just learn strategy. So I'm just going to do PE1, E2, E3, and I'm good. Then I'm going to do P2, P1, P2, P3. Then I'm going to finalize with F1, F2, F3, which are then the modules within each pillar. So as you can see, then operational level has got E1, P1, and F1. Then after the operational level, you've got E2, P2, and F2 being the management level. Then after that, you've got E3, P3, and F3 being the strategy level. So those are then the modules within each level. Then what I was saying is that now, how do the assessments work? Does each and every module have an assessment? And the answer is yes. So what does that mean? Does it mean that we now have E1's exam, P1's exam, F1's exam, E2's exams, and so on? And the answer is yes, we do. Meaning that as a minimum, to complete the professional qualification, you need to have completed all the modules. And as it stands, it's 9 of them. Right? And the exam for each module, it's called an objective test. Meaning that there is an objective test for E1, E2, and E3. Meaning there are 3 for each pillar. Then there are objective tests for E1, P1, and F1. Meaning that at each level, there are also 3 objective tests. And that's how we get to 9. But one will then say, okay, now I see that there are 9 objective tests. Now the question is, where do I start? Do I just do as I please? Can I say that I want to do accounting 1, then do accounting 2 and accounting 3? And we understand that's how universities work, that you cannot be admitted to accounting 2 if you don't have accounting 1. You cannot be admitted to accounting 3 if you don't have accounting 2. Same with management accounting and so on. So there is that kind of thinking here as well, that it's impossible to then say I'm doing E1, E2, sorry, to say that I'm doing E1, E2, and E3. But okay, no, we'll come back to that one, just to clarify. So as I was saying, then there will be 9 objective tests. So now my next question is, can you just choose where and how you navigate? Can I choose if I prefer to do it horizontally or vertically, or to do it horizontally? Is that my discretion based on my interest, based on my comfort? And the answer is no, you don't get to choose whether you want to do horizontal or vertical. You will then, it is prescribed that before you jump into another level, you complete all the module within a level. Meaning that before you go to operational, you should have completed or rather be exempted from E1, T1, and F1. That is the minimum. You should have completed those objective tests. So in other words, it's impossible for someone to come and say, I'm doing E3, P2, and F1. That's not a possibility. It's impossible to say, I've completed E1 and P1, and I've not completed F1, but because I've not completed F1, I'm busy with E2 and P2. It's impossible. So you have to complete a level. Then the next question should be, all right, so after I complete E1, P1, and F1, can I then go to E2, P2, and F2? And the answer again, it's no. You need to complete the case study exam. Okay, so what is the case study exam all about? So what is the case study exam all about? So there are 3 case study exams, 1 at each level. That means there is an operational level case study, management level case study, and strategic level case study, or rather strategic case study, management case study, and so on. So 3 case studies that you have to complete. So the case study acts as a barrier before you move to the next level. And the idea is you have to complete E1, P1, F1 before you are entitled to write the operational case study. So you cannot wake up and say that, guys, I'm ready. I want to write the case study, then I'll come back to E1, P1, and F1. It's impossible. So you have to complete the modules and then go to the case study. Initially, you will then do 3 exams, 3 objective tests, then do the case study and be done with that level. Then go to management, E2, P2, F2, management case study, done. Then move to the next level. Then objective test, E3, P3, F3, done, jump to the next level. So that is how you navigate through the CIMA professional qualification. So now we have talked about the pillars, we have spoken about the levels, and we have now spoken about the assessments. So as you complete those, what does that mean? So CIMA have designed a very interesting system to say that if you complete a level, and we believe that our qualification is equivalent to an academic qualification. So that means for completing a level, we will want to recognize you for completing part of the CIMA qualification. So essentially, when you complete your operational level, you are recognized to have a CIMA diploma in management accounting. So you are also entitled to put this next to your signature. So Rendani Mutero, CIMA Dip MA, meaning that you are going to be recognized as having completed the operational level. After you've completed the management level, you are equivalent to someone who's got an advanced diploma in management accounting. So they are saying that you now have a CIMA advanced diploma in management accounting. Once you complete the strategic level, they are saying you are now ready. Just finalize the administrative process and start using the designation ACMA, which means Associate Chartered Management Accountant, or CGMA, which means Chartered Global Management Accountant. So the 2 designations there, historically, it used to just be ACMA, but then CIMA then combined with the American Institute, AICPA. So So essentially, it was the American Institute of what? Certified Professional Accountants. So you'll see when you go to the website, it says CIMA.AICPA. So American Institute of Certified Professional Accountants. So once they then combined, they created this new designation to recognize their global stature as one of the biggest, or I think they are the biggest professional accounting body in the world. And then they created this designation, what do you call it? The Chartered Global Management Accountant. So that is the designation or recognition that you will get. So if we see ACMA, CGMA next to your name, we know that you've completed all the exams, and we know that you've even signed off your experience. Then lastly, let's talk about that experience. How does it look like? So for some of you, you might have gone through the CICA training contract. So the CICA training contract is quite, what's the word? Structured. And it is structured because you'll then go to an organization, then they will refer to you to as a CICA trainee, a trainee accountant, or an audit clerk. And you know you've got about 3,600 hours of competency that you need to tick off. So there is that structure. But whereas here, you still need to have a minimum of 3 years. But the idea here is that it's not as structured as what? As the CA1. So like here, you can move between organizations, you can move between roles, you can get all these competencies in one role, one firm, many firms, and so on. It just needs to be captured and a portfolio of evidence exists and also signed off by a senior member. And that is part of the professional experience requirement. In other words, you cannot qualify as a CIMA member unless you've completed 3 years of training. And this is not necessarily training, it's actually experience, because you don't need to be in a training contract, as I was saying before. You could actually qualify or get a degree, then get a role as a graduate employee. Within 6 months, you're absorbed, you're a management accountant, then you graduate to a financial manager, then you join another firm as financial manager, and that will be fine. So there is no requirement to necessarily complete a training contract. Whereas some firms do have a training contract and so on and so on. But the idea is that there is a CIMA training partner companies or firms where you know that if you go here, then in terms of having a structured approach, or where they will then lead you and make sure that within your 3 years you've completed, that is perfect. And that exists. And it also ensures you that once you are done, you don't need to be running around looking for CIMA member, because the firm will then have CIMA members that can help you sign off the experience. So it's like in an organization where now if you go in to do CICA training, yes, you could have, but that experience might then be signed off as part of RPL, but it's always easier if there's a CA within the organization and the entity is a training provider. So that is the idea as well here. But in a nutshell, that is the CIMA qualification. Any questions? Was he up? Or is it Peter? Yes, Sean?
Thank you, Randan. Good evening to you, sir, and to the rest of our colleagues. Just a question on that PER.
Yeah.
So if you were an auditing trainee or an audit clerk, or after, let's say, you already qualified as a CA, but you remained in auditing, is it likely that you ask that kind of requirement from CIMA?
Yeah, okay, go. Sure, finish.
Just looking for them specifically for a trainee. The fact that you've been signed off by SACA, that doesn't give you some kind of exemption from PER.
So what they do is they've got a shorter version of it. So it's not as extensive as what you'll then find for someone, because the advantage of having SACA articles is that now they're structured. So that means anyone who comes and say, I've got SACA articles, it's like, we know now you've gone through these competencies. So it makes it easier. So there's about a page that you will need to complete that just to validate and answer a few questions, but it's not as extensive as in other instances. So that's always the advantage if you've gone through SACA training. Makes sense?
Yeah, so no, I think I'm following it. I'm following it a little bit. Just a follow up on that one. So it's gonna be different for me who has SACA training as compared to someone who's coming from outside who doesn't have SACA training. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, because that one will need to really prepare an evidence of portfolio to say, when I was a financial manager, I was doing this. When I was this, I was doing that. Whereas you just come and say, I've got SACA training. We say, oh, SACA training, we know it. We have looked at it. We like it. We've signed it off. So maybe just tell us 1, 2, 3 if you've been in audit.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. Was it Luyanda? Luyanda?
Hi, Rendani.
Good evening.
Thanks. I just wanted to ask, how do they classify what exemption you get? Because I've spoken to a couple of tuition providers, and all of them have a different answer for me. So I'm a person who has CCA and has written ITC and exhausted their attempts. And I've signed off articles. So I've got audit background and I'm a management accountant. So with that said, going to the different tuition providers, I've got to feel that depending on who you speak to, the exemptions differ, which for me didn't give me much comfort with the qualification.
Sure, I hear you. I hear you. And interestingly enough, so that's going to be our next slide. So I'm just going to talk about it, but you'll see that the last point, which is also on CIMA website, is that CIMA reserves the right to make the final decision. But based on my current understanding, someone who's got CTA is required to start at a management level. But as I'm saying that, what will then happen is that, yes, I can tell you this. Yes, you can go to the CIMA exemption calculator. It can give you an output. But what will then happen after you register, you'll be required to send through your qualification, and then they will make a decision. So the decision traditionally it's aligned to what they say. Yeah, but I think maybe it's I don't know whether it's formality or there's actually more work that they do when they make that call. Then they will be the one that comes back and say, based on this, we are going to give you 1, 2, 3. So that's how generally the process works. So at this point, even the CIMA website, as well as any tuition provider, they will tell you with a reservation what you can qualify for. Makes sense. Yeah, Leander. Demakatso, I think your mic is open, or you want to ask a question. Leander, got that?
Hi, Randani.
Hi.
Yes, I wanted to ask a question. So let's say that you have your SACA articles.
Yeah.
Then you've got your postgrad, and you wanna be CGMA plus CASA. What process? Which level would you now have to do for you to be able to qualify for both? Maybe you want to write APC.
So you want to do, what do you call this? You want to do CIMA first, then add CA later.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so hold that thought. I'll also just talk about this before we go. Yes.
Okay.
Sure. All right. I see. Does the page need to be substantiated by a manager? Let me I'll need to confirm from a trainee perspective, but if you are a qualified CA, not necessarily so. Not necessarily so, but yes.
So it's from not a qualified CA, but signed off articles. So because the articles are signed off for experience, yeah, would you need that page to be substantiated?
From what I understand, not so, but I can just double check that for you and then revert sometime next week. But I don't think so, because as I'm saying that even for a CA, if they don't want it, then one could reasonably expect that we've really gone through the same journey. So then it should work the same. So that's something that I can verify for you.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So Goody, Abafana. I have ITC, attempted APC for a number of times. Unfortunately, I've been unsuccessful. I'm planning to register for your APC and attempt APC again. I didn't know much about CIMA, but now I'm gaining interest. Is it advisable to rather do CIMA, or can I rather pursue both APC and CIMA? Any advice, pros and cons? Okay, so I'll also talk about that when we talk about the exemptions, and therefore, if you start here, what does it mean for the exemptions and so on? Okay, but I got that, Bafana. So Violet, I got that as well. Any chance you can share the PR for candidates? Sure, Peter, got it. I'll do. Once you've compiled this portfolio, which details what you've done in different roles in any company where you're employed, how does CIMA verify this in order? So it's like, what do you call it? It's like even your training, remember that if you are in top, you then get an assessor who then comes, review your portfolio, then ask you a few questions, then signs you off. As well as in audit, you just go to your ATL, ATL or ATS system, and then just log your experience. So there's, to some extent, what do you call it? Trust in the system. So yes, it's always good to then have people that you will validate and talk to your experience. But generally, the way you unpack your experience to say that, yes, I've been a financial manager, my responsibility was this. So as if it's detailed well, then there are some instances that your CV then works at that, and you've got references. So depending on the work that they do, because there's work that they do in order to validate that experience. So if it is that they will call and verify your references, call and verify your employment, call and verify. So there are those kind of balances and checks that are done. So the extent of it, one probably never knows, because it could be that maybe they call one employer based on that you've done majority of your time there, or they call several employers and so on. Okay. So it's essentially that kind of process, because it has to be verified. So you will need to then, and in terms of the structure, so the structure, they've got a very detailed guideline in terms of how to capture your experience. So that's something that you will talk about more once the program has also started, or even before, just in terms of once you go into your portal, download that guidance, but it will tell you that if you are detailing an experience, tell us what you did, what you achieved, and what were the results, and so on and so on. So you will then detail it there, and at different roles, at different tasks, and you'll then be able, and it's not that you need to have done everything. Like for instance, most can complete, say, a training contract without, say, having audited financial instruments. So same thing there. it's not like you have to have done everything. And remember that the competencies here are very important to say, have you demonstrated some leadership, whether it's in a financial management role, management accounting role, and so on and so on. So it's that kind of process that one will expect if you have done, say, a CIMA training. Okay. Yeah, the guidance is there, but then the document, you get it on your online profile. Online profile, once you're registered, you then get a portal in the CIMA website, and that's where you'll then be able to download the guidelines, or this, what is it, the template that you need to complete. But all the guidelines are there on the website. Is your offering compatible with CIMA FLP? So the CIMA FLP, you have to be a reseller. So it's a separate application which we don't have, or we've not done. So the FLP will therefore not be offering. So that's why you'll not see it in our details. Okay. Peter, I see you're back.
Thank you, Rendon.
Yeah.
Just a small question. How long does it take to complete each of those 4 levels? Because I see in your previous slide, you have certificate, operational, management, and strategic.
Okay, I'll also clarify that. So once we talk about this, you'll then get a better understanding. Sure. Was it Lutando? Oh, okay, it's gone. The end is gone. All right. So the end is down. Then let's talk about registration and exemptions. So how does this work? So I think the number of questions have come out now. Where do I start? What is how does the journey look like if I've got this and that? And I think, as I'm saying, and you'll see in the final step there, you have to register with CIMA to secure exemptions. So the idea, they have that disclaimer on their site themselves to say, you cannot therefore claim what do you call it, exemptions. We will essentially give them to you. Meaning that you cannot, I don't know whether there is a case where someone could have, say, CTA and the other have CTA and they get different exemption. I've not heard of it. The people that I know, even that have completed CA and have completed CTA and did it, they've gotten this same qualifications that are detailed on what? On the website. So I don't know whether it's just probably a legal thing to just say that there's no guarantee, but generally speaking, whatever the website says, it's likely to be the outcome. So where do you, or what are exemptions? So firstly, just to understand the exemption model for CIMA. So as I was saying, that the qualifications, they are considered to be equivalent to an academic degree. Because some of you might have said that after CTA or an undergraduate, you did a diploma, say, in tax, not CTA. Maybe you did a diploma in management accounting. And furthermore, you probably did a master's in something. So you could then be studying a different, you could then have different qualification when you start. So CIMA recognizes that to say that you probably have done more and you are more qualified. So we cannot make you do things that we know you're well qualified to do. So what they've then designed is an exemption model. So the exemption model then says that if you have this qualification, then we are not going to require you to sit for this particular assessment. And you can be exempted all the way up to the strategic case study, depending on your qualification. Does that make sense? So depending on your qualification, you can. And even more interesting, they then not say qualification only. You could then have a BCom degree, But you then were so ambitious and you climbed your way up in the corporate ladder and say now 10 years later, you are a CFO. So they can also consider your experience and then say, no. If you've been a CFO, why should you be then doing things that you are never going to be doing ever again? Because as a CFO, we said you are more strategic. So we know you are not going to be capturing ABC reports or something like that. So as a result, we are saying that where you are and the kind of experience you've got, we are not going to then do what? We are not going to require you to do some of the exams. So it's both qualification and experience. And even more, they've got also another pathway if you are an academic. Because if you teach these things, then now why will I be teaching, say, CTA for the past 5 years? And they say that, no, rather than go do operational. Do you see, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, I'm teaching people these things every day for the past 5 years plus. So they also recognize academics with different experience and qualification. So the idea here is that we don't want you to do things that we are confident that we know very well. So that's the exemption model. So the exemption will then say, don't do this, start here, and so on. And when you look closely at their website, they even say that in terms of looking at qualifications, the qualifications that are 7 years, that are older than 7 years, they will then be reviewed by them directly, and then they will give you an outcome. So it's like they're saying that don't rely on their website if your qualification is older than 7 years. You rather then try your luck with the exemption department. And if they then, for whatever reason, after considering your qualification and experience, maybe they can then say, oh, you're good to start here, you're good to start here. They have probably the powers to do that. But when you go to their system, a qualification older than 7 years, they say that it is not going to be considered for that purpose. But as I'm saying, it's not only the qualification, it's qualification and experience. And one of the things that you can do, there is an exemption calculator online. It's free to use. Just Google CIMA exemptions calculator. Then it will appear top result or second top result. Then you will go there, it will ask you, do you have a professional qualification? So a professional qualification is whether you're a CA or not, or whether you're in a ACCA. So if you say yes, they'll say which body, what qualification, and then you will type all those things there, and it'll ask you how much experience do you have, and then taking those into account, they'll give you an indication. But what you can do, they will also say this is subject to the final outcome from the exemption department. But that's always a good start, that check yours using the CIMA exemptions calculator. Once you are satisfied that, oh, I'm going to start here, then what do? You then register with CIMA as a student and submit all their requirements in order for them to validate and give you the final outcome on your exemptions. Okay? And what I then have here are some of the most typical. So what is typical is that firstly, a pathway agreement exists for CICA members. So that pathway agreement says that if you are a qualified CA, we are so excited about that we will exempt you the entire lot, except for the strategic case study. So you will not need to do operational, you will not do management, you will not do E3, P3, and F3. You will only do the strategic case study. And they are saying that because they know that the strategic case study deals with content that is in E3, F3, and P3, their requirement is for you to sit for an examination preparatory workshop. So you need to be registered for a workshop, excuse me, so that at least you get to understand what the strategic case study is all about. And here it's the same thing that I was telling you about the APC. That the APC, you'll be assessed on things that you did in CTA. So what it means that having CTA or having done CTA, it's advantageous so that you can do much better in the APC. So the same is true about the strategic case study, that it's advantageous to have done E2, P2, and F2, sorry, E3, P3, and F3. As much as you are exempted from them, they consider it advantageous. That's why in the pathway agreement, they even specify that you need to at least attend an exam preparatory workshop so that you can refresh and get to know about these things. That's typically one. Then two, postgraduate candidates. Those typically start at management level. So here you need to have completed the qualification. It's not enough to have attempted it. You need to have completed it. So completing, you then have a qualification to show as evidence of that. If you do have a postgraduate qualification, you are more likely to start at a management level. And if you have an undergraduate degree, like a BCom, business science, then you are more likely to start at an operational level. So there are considerations sometimes of which institution is it, which qualification is it, because there are some qualifications that are specifically focused on CIMA. And as a result, you can find that even if it's an undergraduate qualification, you can possibly start at management level. So you might need to then firstly check the exemption calculator, register, then submit the related documents and get the final outcome. But here, I just want you to understand the exemption model. Lucanio, evening.
Hi, Rendon, how are you?
I'm all right, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I'm trying to digest everything. I think for me, what I'm trying to navigate through, I previously did this assessment of weather exemption,
Okay.
So because I'm post articles, I have 4 years to 4 years and a half in experience. So when I did that calculation without my CTA, because I stopped my CTA in level 2 of my articles, then it gave me the option that I can start at a management level.
Okay. Yeah.
So that is what it calculated for me. And as you were talking about it now, I rechecked it and it's still saying the same thing. So
That's
one
good.
thing, what I'm trying to now understand is this now going per individual? And if I'm saying I'm coming to Endunamo to do it with you guys, do I need to also now show that as per the calculation, this is what it gave me? And is Endunamo going to start me as per the calculation? How do you guys consider that? That's one thing I just wanted to understand. And how do you interlink the system of CIMA and what you guys are going to be assisting us with?
Sure. So the most important part about that, Lucanio, it's that you have to then register and then formalize the application for those exemptions. So what then they will do, they might ask for, say, show us those qualifications, show us anything, CV, if needed be. I just forgot what I had to submit because I had to go through the same process as well. So then back when I did it, I think it was about 2 to 3 weeks. Then they will then process it. After they process it, then they will say these exemptions are finalized. It is only then that you will know and be able to register for specific assessments or objectives, because then your system will then say, we have now exempted you for all the operational level objective tests and case study, meaning that when you try to book an assessment for management, it will allow you. So you will need to get that confirmation first before you register for an exam, because I think their rule is if you register, I think if it's, I don't know whether it's to attempt or register. If you register or attempt before you get the feedback, then you are required to complete that assessment. So in other words, you can start, let's say you start now, then before you even get feedback from CIMA, you then register for the management objective test. And maybe you sit for it and it doesn't go so well. I think then the criteria is that you now need to finalize that route that you've started, if I'm not mistaken. So it's always good to then register, then launch the application. So the application nowadays is free, so you don't need to necessarily pay for what? You don't need to necessarily pay for the exemption. So that process is free, just submit, get then the feedback, then you will know what you therefore need from us, and also which assessment you now need to start preparing for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I'm happy.
Yeah, sure. So it's quite good that you are saying that they've exempted you for all those. So that is something that you will then need to confirm, because the system will need to know that before it says you can book, because otherwise it will want you to book from operational if you don't have the accreditation loaded on your profile. Okay, I see a chat. So is Lucas, you are saying, is the strategic exam similar to APC in terms of structure? Okay, so next slide. So we're gonna go there. Then, so got you, Lucas, Ioannis. Oh, good evening, sir. Quick one for those who have received exemptions all the way to the strategic case study. How likely is it for one to do well in the final exam through only the assistant of the case study workshop covering P3 and so on? So the idea, so the workshop that we will be offering, it's not necessarily a typical workshop, say the one we run for ITC. So I'll show you the timetable. So what it has, we then give you access to E2, to E3, P3, and F3. So you get all those videos so that you can work through them. And our advice is that you need to go through a 6-month program, so that you first take time to go through all the syllabus for E3, the syllabus for P3, the syllabus for F3. Then after you are done, you will then attend the workshop. So the workshop is about a month. So then we start going through the pre-release, the pre-scene information, and then we do a guided mock exam, where now we guide you in terms of, this is the pre-scene, how do you analyze it? Then these are the unseen, how do you attempt it, how do you get marked? And then we work through in detail on the first case study. Then you get the second case study, which is like a tutorial. Then you go with it and you practice that at home, and you submit to us as a tutorial. And after you submitted, we then mark it and give you a first feedback. Then thirdly, you then do what? You then get another mock exam. With this mock exam, you then sit for it under time constraints, where we are simulating the exam, and you then write it and we submit it. So you write it under exam condition and you submit it and we mark it for you. So that is how the workshop is structured. But I'll talk about it later on. But I hope that you just got a high level glimpse of how the workshop actually works. So it's not like, say, a typical APC workshop that we run over just a week or two, and that's it. So this one is a little bit more involved. Okay, so Lucas point. Okay, so how does the what? Then assessment looks like. So let's start with the objective test. So because sometimes when it's objective test, it looks like something not serious. Like you're like, no objective test, I can nail this. So how does that look like? So that's where we need to start. How does an objective test look like? So firstly, it's on demand. That's the most beautiful thing I love about it. The objective test is on demand. What does that mean? It's on demand. It means that if right now I'm talking to you and I'm lecturing you, you're like, Narendan, I'm ready. You can literally go into the system and you'll find dates that you can start booking. And you can then book and say, Renan, next week, Thursday, it's happening. I'm going for my E2 objective test. So there are no structured times for these. They are always available on demand. So what makes them available is that they are written at a center where now you just go, you find a computer set up, and you sit there and you start doing your stuff. So when I say doing your stuff, what do I mean? What kind of questions are you going to get? So there are a number of questions that you're going to get. It could be one objective test. It could be MCQs, so multiple choice to say which one is the most correct answer. That's one. And two, multiple reasoning questions to say which of the two is what? Which of the two is valid? Which of the ones talk to these, and so on and so on. Then number three, it could be this refers to fill in the blank. Then there could be drag and drop to say that you've got what do you call it? Let's say, yeah, deferred tax, income tax, tax expense, for instance. And on this other side, it says that this is calculated based on temporary difference. This is calculated based on the regulations from SARS. This is a combination of 1, 2, 3, and you then need to match that deferred tax is this on this side, income tax is this on the other side, this is this on the other side. So those are typically the objective tests. Does that make sense? So that is that. So as you can imagine, there is a right and a wrong answer here. Because if I say multiple choice, there is a right or wrong. If I say multiple reasoning, right or wrong. If I say fill in the blank, right or wrong. If I say drop and match, what? Right or wrong. So when it comes to MCQ, to the objective test, it's right or wrong, which now brings us to the next point. So the assessment is 90 minutes. 90 minutes, you are done with the module. And you've got 15 minutes to practice just to understand how the system works, or okay, tick, 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 or this is how you drag, this is how you do, this is the on-screen calculator, and so on and so on. So that's the assessment. And because it's right or wrong, you then, by the time you go out, you know the results. So you know whether it chowed you or you chowed it right there. So yes, they also have another disclaimer to say, yeah, the results can only be confirmed after 48 hours. So it's just safe covering just what the process. But the idea is that after you leave the center, you will know whether you are done, say, with a particular module or not. So the results are immediate because there's right or wrong, and therefore a system can compare and say valid, 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 and you've passed. So there are several centers around the country. So we have then acquired those. We'll then be just sharing them on the main website. so that if you are then planning an objective test, you can see. But if you're already registered, you are able to see that in your profile. But even if you Google and say CIMA exam centers, you'll then find them with ease. So all the objective tests, as it shows, they are electrically written. So there's no manual writing there. So everything is electronic, and that's why there are these exam centers. So they're called the PSN View centers, and a number of them exist both in South Africa and in Zim. So the idea is exactly that. Whenever you are ready, go for it, tick and know before you come back. So as I was saying earlier on, you can take the objective test in any order as long as they are within the same level. So there's no requirement that you need to start with an exemption with an objective test for E1, then go to P1 and then to F1. You can decide that next week you're ready for F1 because you've seen that this is something you've done before. So quickly study it, and then within a month time, you are ready. And then the other one, you say, okay, it will take me time. Let me give it 2 months. You are ready, and so on. So to the question about the time, as you can see now, you control the time. It is a matter of when are you ready. If you are saying, I'm ready now, Rendani, you can literally go and book. And tomorrow, and by next week, or if it's not packed, you will then have been sorted. So you control the time, so they are on demand. Are we clear with the objective test? Any questions on the objective test? Okay, all good. Then now, you have now nailed all the 3 objective tests. You are now ready for what? For the case study exam. And the question that came from Lucas was, is this exam similar to the APC? So, similar in some instance, yes. How so? What makes it similar and what makes it different? So firstly, what are the components of this case study exam? Like the CICA case study, APC, you have a pre-scene, which CICA calls a pre-release. You then have information on the day, which CICA calls, CICA calls information on the day, and here we refer to it as the unseen material. You then have tasks, which we all refer to as what? As tasks. So that is number 1. So in terms of the components, we have same components. We have the pre-seen, the unseen, and the tasks. Okay. Then this is what now makes this very exciting. You have 4 opportunities to sit for the what? For the case studies. You can sit either in February, May, August, or November. So 4 times these case studies are written. In each and every sitting, there are 3 options to choose from. You can either write on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. So it means that there are 3 times 4 sittings in a year, 12 sittings of the case study. That's the difference with the APC number 1 to Lucas. That's number 1. Number 2, the pre-release for the APC, you are given only 5 days. You get it on Friday, and on Wednesday you are writing. For CIMA, you get the pre-release at least 7 weeks before you write. That's difference number 2. 7 weeks. So now, what happens then? You have your pre-release. So does it mean that there are 4 pre-release because there are 4 sittings? Interestingly, no. There are only 2 pre-release per year. So how does that work? So pre-release number 1, it's released ahead of the sitting in May. So now, as I'm saying this, an exam coming in May 2024. So they're going to release the pre-release. So the idea is that the last week, the last week or the second last week of May, you're going to sit for the strategic case study. In the second week, you're going to sit for the management. So then you can count 7 weeks before, and it's already issued on their website. So if you want exact dates, you can go there. Then 7 weeks before the May sitting, you get the pre-release or the pre-scene. So you work through it over the 7 weeks. If we are saying, oh, 7 weeks, it's too little because I need to go back to E3, P3, and F3 work, then you can say, I'm not going to sit for May. I'm going to sit for August sitting. And that means you now have added more time to the pre-release that you got. So that means the pre-release that is coming now for May, if you decide to write in August, you are going to have the same pre-scene material. Interesting, right? Because you now have more time with this thing. And additionally, it means you now have access to the exams that were set on your pre-scene, which you can then use them for practice. And one of the things that I love about CIMA is the detailed post-guidance and pre-guidance. So the pre-guidance is the first part. So you might be saying that, what if I decide to sit in May? How will I know what I'm going to write about? So if you go on the website for CIMA and you then say CIMA Blueprint. So we have also provided you in your portal. So, and you say CIMA Blueprint, it will tell you exactly what is going to be covered in the exam. So it's not a mystery. So they will tell you that this exam will focus on this and this and that and this. So you now start with that pre-guidance. So they've issued for 2024, and they say this year, these are the focus areas. So that's number 1, it's like a scope. So you've got a scope before you write. Then you've got the extended number of weeks before you sit. And additionally, you then have an opportunity to not sit for May so that you can use the May sitting as the mock exams. And then you've got more time to prepare for your sitting in August 2024. If you decide not to sit in August 2024, the next sitting is in November 2024, and the pre-scene will be available 7 weeks before the November sitting. And if you decide, so that will be a new pre-release. So after August, they give you a new pre-release, which will then be applicable for November 2024 and for February 2025. So that is the pre-scene, the 2 that I was talking about. So they've got, after then the exam, what they call a post-exam guidance. So this will then say, this was the exam. We focused on this. This is what we expected from candidates. This is what the candidates did. So again, you now have another tool to work with ahead of the exam. So that is why we are then saying when we launch, we're going to prepare you for August 2024 so that we have the pre-scene much earlier and we can use it to our advantage. Then the three variations that I was talking about, as I was saying, the exam is on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So each of them has got a different unseen and different task lists. So it's not like your friend will write on Wednesday and say, sure, they had 1, 2, 3. Go and study this before your assessment on Friday. No, no, no. Each of them is independent from each other. So it's a very interesting system. So meaning from one pre-scene, we've got how many? We've got 6 exams that they write. 3 for the May sittings and 3 for the August sitting. Or otherwise 3 for the November 2023 sitting and 3 for February 2024 sitting. So that is how this works. Now, in terms of the nature though, what can you expect? So interestingly, so the pre-scene is very much detailed. So it does industry, it unpacks the industry. What is it? And you're gonna love the case study. They're very practical, very, very practical. By the time you're done with any case, you're gonna understand that industry because the quality of the content, it's always well researched, and I promise you, you're gonna learn something about even the industry that you knew very well. You might be saying you know this industry, but you're going to find something interesting that they're going to put there. Then that pre-scene, it's usually about 18 to 23 or even longer number of pages, but with 7 weeks, not much. You can deal with it. And another thing that is different for those that have done the APC, you'll know CIMA says don't talk to your tuition provider or professional program provider or other CAs on the case study once you receive it. Here, it's galore. You can talk to us, you can talk to anyone, to friends, CAs, and so on. Even industry leaders for the industry you are having, you can talk to them for guidance. That is perfectly acceptable. So that is the case study. It's a 3-hour exam, but one of the things that is very interesting about it is that whether it's ITC, CTA, APC, I've seen so many candidates talk to me about time pressure exam technique. So here for CIMA, you can go there and find that on the day you've got 4 tasks. Then they say task number 1, 45 minutes. Task number 2, 45 minutes. Task number 3, 1 hour. Then task number 4, 30 minutes. So what is interesting about this assessment is that after 45 minutes, task 1 closes. So you are forced to move on. There's no that I am doing so well, I don't want to move. No, yeah, you have to move. So task A then closes after 45 minutes. Then task B will then close after another 45 minutes. Then the other will close after an hour. So they want to just make sure everyone attends each and every task. Interesting, right? How does that sound? Like I found it very interesting, and I don't know, does it excite you? I'm sure if you have exam technique problem, it's a nice way to learn the discipline. Then it's human marked. Human marked meaning that unlike the objective test, there are people, markers, that actually review scripts. So what is the other thing that is then want to get used to? So this one has got time as well as mark based. So there will be a question to say, we have now decided to partner and enter this particular market. And we are worried about the risks. Give us 3 risks that we believe are major, before we proceed with this project. Then they've got what they call the 3-level approach marking. So if you give me nothing, obviously I'm going to give you 0. But you can then say, no, we need to consider whether the reputation of the new partner is good. That's true, but it sounds a little bit light. I wanted more. So then their marking grid is like this. If then that's a 5 marks question where I said, give me a risk, then they could say, if you don't give me a risk, you got 0. If you give me a light risk, I can give you a 1. If you give me a well-explained risk, then I can give you 2 to 3. But if you give me a risk and unpack how it is a risk and why you consider this risk to be major, given the pre-release context and the unseen context, then I can give you 4 to 5. So that's what they call a 3-level marking approach. They call it a 3-level marking approach. 0, you didn't do anything. Level 1, you identified, but it's a strategic exam. We are not pleased with identification. Then 2 to 3, you did identify and you did discuss, but it looks a little bit generic. 4 to 5, you have now provided quality response. So we are looking at 4 to 5. So APC candidates call this depth and breadth. So when you are really into depth and you're giving that breadth, we are talking about the 3rd level, 4 to 5. So that is what they love. Do you see how interesting it is? Questions on the case study examination? Siyabonga. Yes, please.
Good evening, Rendani. Good evening, everyone. Sorry, Rendani.
Sure.
Like I just lost you while you were talking about the 7 weeks and the case study. Like, let's say you decide to sit for the November case study exam, and then you are unsuccessful during the November exam sitting. And then is it possible to rebook for February sitting? And then how, like are you still gonna be using one and the same present material?
Exactly, 100%, yes.
Oh, okay. I just needed that clarity on that point. Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Good.
Yeah. Okay, everybody got that? So there's no offering for operational level, yeah. So from our side, we don't have any offering for 2024 for operational, unfortunately. So that's number 1. Then what is the second one? What is this? Can I rewrite objective test if I fail? Yes, you can rewrite, but rewriting means another booking and another exam fee. Just to clarify that, Lungisile. So let's say you write today and you were not successful. It means you have to go back and buy a credit to sit for the what? To sit for the objective test, and you then load that credit against the next booking. So that is just the additional cost right there. For younger, for the CIMA training, we do simulation for management accounting. So after article, does one need to gain more working experience for? Yeah, remember with articles, the idea with CIMA is that it's one articles. Whether you complete the articles through simulation for some of the aspects or otherwise, it's like nobody ever gets concerned too much about that. The idea is that you have the CIMA training articles. Then Tafadzwa is saying, do we need to get into the exam with our research file? Yes, yeah. Yeah, I had mine. I hope that, yeah, I had mine. Yes, you can with your research file. Yes. Yeah, okay, it's an old hand. Yes. Right. Okay, so that is the what? That is the exam, the exam structure. So let's quickly talk about our offering. So in terms of our offering, we've got two offerings that will be having. Firstly is the online only offering, and it will be what? It will the hybrid offering. So the online offering is for those that don't want to attend the live classes. So everything there is available online. So support they'll still fully have, but it just means that when we have, say, classes via Teams and classes via a hybrid basis, they will not be what? They will not be able to attend. So that is the difference between the two offerings. So it's just a matter of whether I just want everything fully online or whether I want to attend some of those classes. Then the other thing is that our offering is from August 2024. It's for the August 2024 sittings. So the idea is that when you are registering, we are planning to take you through to the August 2024 sitting rather than the May 2024 sitting. So the reason behind that is that, yes, if you then are on the online offering or hybrid, you'll then get all the video pre-end in advance, it means. And when you get them in advance, what it means that if you're saying, I'm determined to prepare for May, for whatever reason, you can then go through all those videos and then start preparing. But however, what it means that for the May 2024 sitting, we will not be having the workshop for the case studies. We'll only have the workshop for the case studies in August 2024. So that is what it essentially means when we say we are preparing you for August 2024 sitting. It just means that the case study preparation sessions will only be for that particular sitting. Then in terms of the textbooks, where is my icon? We're going to be using the Kaplan. So the Kaplan is our preferred textbook. You can have it on an online only basis, or which is an ebook, or you can have it as a what? As a printed book. The ebook, equally suitable. Just what you need to be mindful of is that you cannot print it. You can view it online, but you cannot print it. So it will always need to be studied on your PC. If you decide to then purchase the books through us, the books come in pairs, meaning that if you buy, say, the books for E2, you're going to be receiving two things. Firstly is the study text, which is an equivalent to a textbook, and a practice kit, which is an equivalent to a revision kit. So the idea there is that the textbook will go through the entire E2 syllabus in my example there. Then it will have examples to unpack some of the concepts, but you will benefit from having a what? From having an exam kit. Why? Because it's got previous objective tests in there and some other ones that are developed in partnership with what? With CIMA. So like for instance, an exam kit, say for A2, could have 200 questions of the objective test, which you can then attempt and then start preparing for the objective test you're going to write. So that is how that will work. So E2, E3, F2, F3, P2, P3 will be the ones that we are offering. And as per the timetable that we have loaded on our website, you'll see that we will then run the course for about 3 months. It will then go into a recess for about 2 to 3 weeks to afford you the time to go and sit for the objective test. After that, you will then come back for the case study preparatory sessions, which will then attempt ahead of the case study exam. So the period from 1 April to August, where you eventually get to write the case study, it's clearly outlined in the timetable. Okay, how long will both management and strategic level take to complete? Can I take the management case study in August and the strat? You can certainly do so. You can certainly do so. So, and that's the flexibility with this. So let's say maybe you are saying that for one reason or the other, you want to do APC next year. So you can literally do that. So it will be easier to just maybe have a longer time for the first engagement with the CIMA syllabus and so on. So let's say maybe you give yourself a little bit more time for the management and write in August. You should be in a good position to still write your assessment in November, if now you've come to be accustomed to the syllabus. And even if you say November is a little bit too early, you will rather sit for Feb. The results for Feb, they come out just in what? April or so? Yes. April or so, I was looking at those dates. And what it means that you can still do the APC next year, whether you write the November or whether you write the February 2025 exam. So if that is your plan. So it is quite possible. So it is quite possible. So I think I want to just check if they had issued the dates for 2025. So if I just check, so the exam for 2025 in November, you will then be sitting for the case study on the 21st, 22nd, on the 20th, 21st, 22nd in November. It seems I've removed those dates, but then the results come out about second week of Jan, and then you write your case study February, so about another 2 months. Yes, you either you sit for November or for Feb, you are safe to do your APC. So is the case study and the thing realistic for this year? For this year, I think it will be a bit of stretch. If you mean this year, you mean 2024, right? Yeah, for 2024, it will be a bit of stretch because one has to factor in the exam release periods. Because like, for instance, if you write in May, because now the sitting for Feb is now gone for the strategic and the management. So that means the next sitting is in May. And if you are saying you're going to write in May, it means you need to write management. And then the next sitting will then be in August when the results are going to come out in October, which is just a month before the APC. And remember that for a program provider to issue with a certificate, you need to have qualified as a CIMA member. Qualifying as a CIMA member to do the PER, yeah, it's about a month or so, and depending maybe on the application they receive in the review period, one might need to factor a month or two to finalize. So Yeah, so for this year, it's a little bit out of the question, but 2025 is quite possible if you are planning that, yes. Lucanyo, yes.
Sorry about that, Renan. I just wanted to get clarity on something. So we have to finish both management and strategic. Then you can do the CIMA 2 CA.
Yeah, so just to clarify, so you have to complete both, right?
Okay.
After completing, you then apply to be a member.
Okay.
Once you are a member, you then apply to CIMA to say, guys, I'm a member. Can you confirm that I'm a member? They will issue you with a certificate of good standing. Then you submit it to CICA, and CICA then issues you with a letter of eligibility to join a professional program. So it's like, remember that to join a professional program, you need 18-month training, blah, 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 and so on. So, yes. And ITC. So that letter is just saying this candidate does not need ITC or the 18-month experience. They are sorted.
Okay.
So we take that letter and register you. So we cannot issue you with a certificate without that letter. So even if you come to the program, CICA will not allow us to issue you with a certificate if you don't have that letter.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any other question? Siyabonga, please go for it.
Okay, Rendani, sorry again.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the conversion from CIMA to CICA, CA? What's the process again? Can you confirm? Can you like elaborate on that?
So let's say right now you are sitting here and you're saying that, okay, I've done my registration, my examinations, and now they've confirmed that I can start at management. So you will need to then plan your way. So that means you have May 2024 sitting, August 2024 sitting, November 2024 sitting, February 2024 sitting. So you've got 4 sittings. Then you will then decide that, okay, I think I'm going to be ready for the management case study in August 2024. So that means you sit for the management, you are done. Tick. Then you need to complete the case study. And you're saying that now I figured out this CIMA works. I can plan my objective test in September. I can then study for the case study in October, and November I'm going to write. Sure. Then come November, you write. You get your results in January 2025.
Yes.
Then you have made it. So now I'll say allow for a month or 2 before you become a member, right? Yeah. So you then kick off your PER and you submit your PER to them. And then they say that, thank you, we've received it, we've reviewed it, you are eligible to register as a member. Then they send you the application as well as the fees, you pay the fees and you are registered. So let's say end of Feb, you then get your qualification to say ACMA, CGMA. Then you will need to then say, guys, please issue me with a letter as well to confirm that I'm a member in good standing. In other words, I have fulfilled my obligations and I have, from an exam perspective and registration, and I have paid up my subscription for the year. They will issue you with that letter. The moment you have that letter, you send it to Letu from CICA. Letu then checks it with your CIMA ID and your ID number, and it then says, cool, I'm happy. Then Letu will then issue you within a week or 2, it's quite quick. Within a week or 2, he'll then issue you with a letter of eligibility. So that letter essentially says to all the program provider that Siyabonga is a CIMA member. Whether Siyabonga has done articles or not, we don't care. You're going to waive the 20-month experience that you have before you issue a certificate. And you're going to waive the ITC requirement before you issue the certificate. So Siyabonga is going to do the program, be subjected to the assessments in the program like any other candidate. Once he gets it, he's going to register directly with CIMA for the APC November, December 2025. Then, once you are successful February 2026, you then add the CA designation to your name. That's the process.
All right, so I know it's much clear now. I fully understand the process. Thank you so much.
Only a pleasure. Okay. All right, so yes, so that's that. Then let me just, so as I was saying, in terms of what you then get from a support perspective, you've got a WhatsApp group where we'll then be supporting you. You've got a team of our caretakers, and as per the timetable, there are slots for private consultations. So private consultations are embedded in your program. So if at any point you want to stop and say, I'm going through this, I'm stuck, I'm doing this, I want to clarify this, I want to clarify this, our team is ready to support you from that perspective. Then, lastly, from a tuition perspective, we charge, so our courses are structured as 6-month courses, and you can choose either the online only or the hybrid. So as you can see, whether you take E2, F2, P2, the module is 3,750 for online. And that's where you just get all the videos online, but you still get the support via consultations, you still get the caretaking support, and you still get the WhatsApp support. Then, if you want the textbooks for each module, ebook is 1050 and hard copy is 1350. Then, if you want then the full package, meaning you want E2, F2, P2, plus the management case study workshop. Then the workshop, it's what? It's 3,000 on its own. But if you then want access to the videos, you can choose to want them for the entire 6 months or just the 2 months after the release of the of the pre-exam. So essentially, that will be what? That will be 4,750 for 2 months, including the other videos. But for the 6-month access is the full cost, which is about the 3 modules times 3 plus the case study support. So that is how then it looks like. Then same thing for the strategic, and those are the prices for online as well as hybrid. So remember, this is assuming you are planning to sit for the August 2024 sitting. And we have also put a fee calculator online. You can just go to fees, you'll then find the spreadsheet, and you can decide, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, then it starts calculating for you. Then we also have different payment plans. So if you're on the 6-month course, you pay 40% on registration and 30% after 30 days, and the other 30% after 60 days. Then if you're on the 2-month course, 50% on registration and the balance of 50% in 30 days. And that is everything that I had in store for you tonight. Okushen, please go for it.
Thanks, Renda. So I want to ask,
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I see that the first one, your management level, it says 4.5. Does it include all the 3 modules, E2, F2, oh, it's 4.5 per module.
It's 4.5 per module, yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, yes.
All right, only for the classes and the material only.
So you get the notes, you get the online videos, and for 4.5, then there are classes that are scheduled on the timetable. So the classes will start from April and run up until the last week or second week of June, in addition to the videos. Yeah.
Okay, and then after you will have to register to sit for exams separate.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
Do you perhaps know how much is the fee to sit for exams?
Oh yes, so the fees, I had them. So it's about 98. So 98 pound for each objective test.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah, so that's about what at the current exchange rate. So if we just simplify it, round it to £100 at an exchange rate of about 25, 26. So you're looking at about 2,600 per objective test.
Objective test, and
Yeah.
also to write that management case study, it's also separate cost.
Yeah, so that one is a little bit higher. It's 120 or 160? Yeah, so it's somewhere there, 120 or 160. But if you on the website, you can go to our website and then CIMA and fees. There's a spreadsheet that we did them. So with that spreadsheet, you'll then see that you can then say, all right, I've got E2, so I don't want to pay for E2. I don't want this textbook, or I want this textbook. And I want to also see the estimation of the exam fees. Then you can play around with it. Then it will calculate the totals for you.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. So the reason why we've included also the exam fees, because I know some firms will then say, okay, we'll sponsor you, but then they'll say that no, we're not gonna pay CIMA directly because the foreign payment and sometimes the issues with foreign payments can be just too much. So we can assist with that and then just invoice you a full suit, which includes the exam fees, meaning that come August, we will then, you will then confirm to us that you have registered, you have the banking details, and we'll just pay on your behalf. So if you want that, yeah, if you want that arrangement, yes.
All right, one last question.
Sure.
On the competencies, do you also have people who are assisting the candidates in terms of completing those competencies?
Yes, yeah, we'll assist you with that.
All right,
you mean for after you're done with the exam, the experience partner?
All right.
Yes, yeah.
Happiness.
Hey, thank you, Kush. Hey, Peter, go for it again.
On the fee structure, on the line of management case study, you have 6 months access prior to exam sitting. Would you advise someone to go for that one instead of going for the module by module basis?
Yeah, so that one, so it depends on, say, sometimes so there's some of the people we've spoken to, they've said that the firm wants to pay. So they don't want to make an application for E1, E2, E3, and so on. So they said that, can we just get one application from you, and then we submit one invoice to, say, our employer. So the employer will then say, I'm paying for management level. So you know you are covered. It's not like you're gonna do an application for E2, do an application for P2, do an application for EF2, then come back and do an application for management case study. So if you do that, then you know it's covered. So it's just a matter of preference, but it's not necessarily, say, compulsory. So that's why you can still complete all of this separately, and then after you're done, just come and do the case study separately.
Oh, okay. So the bundled fee is that 13.6. It includes all the modules as well.
Yeah, yes.
Does it also include the online classes?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's everything. So it's just the textbooks are separate because the textbooks we have to just order them from a supplier. So this will then be all the 4 textbooks. So as I'm saying, so if let's say you choose this one, right? And you then say, I want everything. So that will be 13.6. Then if you then say it's 4.9, it will be the 2 books for E2, 2 books for P2, 2 books for F2, and 1 book for the management case study. So it's the full set.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sure. All right, thank you, Lucas. So Nomfundo, if you already have E2, does the fee change? So you mean what for which one? So if you are choosing which option, just to make sure I'm with you, Nomfundo.
Hi, Rindani. So
Hi.
if you're choosing the online option and you
Yeah.
already have E2,
Yeah.
so how do you structure your fee there?
So that means you'll then just unbundle it and do F2, for instance, and P2.
And the case study.
Yes. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Then what if you are planning to sit for the exam in May 25th? Does the material not cater for that? So for this one, Annalisa, so we've just taken the decision to say that to help you enhance your chances, we'll want you to have more time with the pre-release. So remember, the pre-release is going to come out somewhere in April ahead of the May sitting. So we are saying that, but that might be too short because we are only kicking off in April. So we don't want you to be rushed to say, now you just started, we're going to the case study, and you have to now prepare for the May. So that's the decision we made in light of the current circumstances. So if we're to review that decision, we'll then review it going forward. But we believe that you will be best positioned to support you if you know you are planning to write in August 2024. Hope that makes sense, Annalisa. Okay, Siam, yes, your hand is number 1 on my list here. Go for it, please.
All right, one last more question, Rindani. I've heard that you recommend the use of Kaplan material, but on the social media platforms, I've also seen people saying like they were using PPP material, then it was quite well. So what makes of you to say now you recommend the use of Kaplan rather than PPP?
So a couple of things. So firstly, we decided to just make a call on one of the two. So BPP, from my own experience, and in terms of also the support that we expect to get from the publishers or the, what is it? Is the publishers? Yeah, publishers. We then found that the tutor support that they provide from a Kaplan perspective, so that we can also provide you as well. We liked the offer from Kaplan. And for me, having used both myself, I found Kaplan to be a little bit more comprehensive, but that was just my personal preference. I really enjoyed the way that it unpacked some of the content. BPP, I also liked it, but I felt that it was very revision friendly. So revision friendly, what I mean is that it was good in terms of summarizing and getting to the point quicker. But in some cases, I found Kaplan a little bit more richer in terms of just unpacking those principles. So it's just a matter of one, we had to make a call on one, and based on the tutor support that we would like to receive to better support you, as well as just in terms of how the two textbooks unpack, we leaned more to Kaplan. So,
but in terms of the content, like, is it the same?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the content is this because both of them are CIMA published. So both of them, yeah, and they are at global standards. So they, even if when you go to CIMA website, they will recommend this. And you find that even in some of the CIMA workshops or CIMA internal courses, they also work with some of these publishing houses. So yeah, from coverage, you are not shortchanged. So we just didn't want to have two sets when now maybe a lecture of ours is prepared using these, and maybe they're even recommending stuff. And now you are now saying that, sure, I'm missing out because I don't have these books. And you now feel like you have to buy two books because that will add a little bit of a cost to them. Because yes, the books can be a little pricey. So we don't want you necessarily to invest in two, whereas one can as much do the job.
All right, I know. Thank you so much.
Sure. Omar, yes, please.
Hi, Rendani. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I just have a question. In terms of the modules, right? The E2, F2, and the P2, would you just be doing those 3 modules in 6 months for the management level?
And the case study.
And the case study after.
Yeah, yes. So as I was saying, so the content will be about from April up until close to end of June. And we then take a recess so that you can start scheduling and doing revision, scheduling your objective test and doing revision. So we will then want everyone, by the time we start the case study, to have at least attempted and completed the objective test. Because the last thing we want is to say you put the objective test too late and the case study prep starts and you are now still doing the objective test and you're not sure by the time the exam entrance for the exam entry closing date for the management case study, before it closes, you are done. So we just want to make sure everybody is there. So that's what we're going to be covering. So from 1st of April up until, so then what will then happen is we're going to finish end of July. That's the last time we're going to have the classes and the consults. And so after end of July, it means you have about 2 weeks before you sit for the management case study. And that's the period where you'll just be working through the previous mock exams and making sure you are now what? You are now much more ready to tackle the one you're going to write.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you so much.
All right, sure. Okay, Sean, I think, let me know if I missed a question in the chat, but it seems I have covered most. Let me just check to make sure. Okay, yeah, so it seems I have covered much. Yeah, so it's an open book, yes. Can I rewrite? Yes, yeah. Yeah, it seems I have covered. If I've missed anything, please don't hesitate to let me know. But yes, this is that's that, everyone. Okay. But yeah, thank you so much for your time this evening. And also, yeah, for considering joining our program. But let's see, do you have another question? I see your mic is open. Okay, so I guess that's it from my side. So thank you so much. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to email us or to check out our website. And looking forward to having you, and have a good evening.
Thank you so much, Rendani. Your presentation was very insightful. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much, Siyabonga. Have a good night. Thank you.